People often say Trump started the trade wars. He broke the rules, raised tariffs, and turned the world upside down. But what if I told you Trump wasn't the first? Not even close. What if I told you that long before Trump stepped into the White House, kings, emperors, and presidents were already fighting wars, not with tanks or guns, but with something much sneakier, something silent, something deadly. Yeah, tariffs. Those boring taxes you pay on goods from other countries. But don't be fooled by the word. Tariffs might sound boring, but used right, they're like economic chokeholds. Quiet pressure, no blood, just pain. Not the kind made of metal and chains, but the type that squeezes entire countries until they beg for mercy. Let's say it straight. Tariffs have never just been about money. They've always been about control, revenge, and power. Imagine a weapon that can hurt your enemy's economy without firing a single shot. A gun that can collapse industries, starve people with low incomes, and shake governments, all with the stroke of a pen. That's what tariffs have been for thousands of years. And here's the thing, they leave scars. Some of the most significant disasters in human history began not with wars, but with tariff policies. They have crushed empires, started revolutions, and triggered chain reactions that spiraled out of control. However, nobody discusses that part of history. Think of it this way. Tariffs are like slow poison. You don't see them coming. There's no explosion, no blood, but give it time and the damage spreads. Markets freeze. People lose jobs. Trade stops. Nations panic. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's already too late. So no, Trump wasn't the first to use them like a weapon. He's just the latest name in a very long, brutal history. That's why today we're digging deep. We're going to uncover the dark side of tariffs, from ancient times to modern politics. You'll see how they've been used like medieval traps, quiet, clever, and cruel. And by the end, you might never look at a trade war the same way again. We'll start in ancient Greece, where powerful city-states crushed their rivals by taxing them at the ports. Then, we'll ride with the Romans, who didn't just conquer with armies. They used tariffs to suck wealth from their enemies. We'll stop in the Middle Ages, where towns used trade taxes as they did castle walls. And when we reach the 20th century, things become truly dire, when one tariff helped crash the global economy and drive millions into poverty. And yes, we'll end with Trump, but when we get there, you'll realize something. What he did wasn't new. It was just a copy of something much older, something far more dangerous. So keep watching, don't skip ahead, because this isn't an economics lesson. It's a story of betrayal, power, and economic warfare. And just like real war, the victims never see it coming. Ancient times, tariffs as silent weapons. Let's go way back, I'm talking thousands of years ago, to the days when ships were small, sails were big, and trade was life. Picture this, you're a merchant in ancient Greece. You've spent months preparing your goods, olive oil, pottery, and perhaps a few delicate fabrics. You load everything onto a creaky wooden ship and set sail across the Aegean Sea, hoping to make some decent profit. But as soon as you reach the port of another city-state, boom, you're slapped with a heavy fee just to dock. Then more taxes to unload your cargo. Then another charge to sell your stuff in the market. You haven't even sold a single jug of oil and you're already bleeding money. That's not just trade, that's a silent attack. You see, back then, Greek city-states like Athens, Sparta, Corinth, and Delphi were always in competition. They didn't just fight on the battlefield. They fought over trade routes, ports, and control of the economy. And one of the most innovative ways they learned to win without spilling blood was to use tariffs. If Athens didn't like the fact that Corinth was getting rich off trade, they'd just tax Corinthian merchants until they gave up. If Sparta wanted to weaken Athens' allies, it would impose tariffs on goods from its trading partners. It was like setting money traps, no swords needed. And what made it even more brutal? These tariffs didn't just hurt traders. They hurt entire populations. If a city couldn't get enough grain or materials because of tariffs, people went hungry, prices shot up, poverty grew, all because someone far away decided to raise a tax. But here's the crazy part. Nobody called it war. There were no battles, no blood on the streets, just economic pressure, just a few new rules at the port. And yet, the damage could be devastating. In many ways, the Greeks were ahead of their time. They realized something modern politicians still use today. You don't have to fire a single shot to win a war. Just make your enemy too broke to fight back. But the Greeks weren't the only ones. Across the Mediterranean, another empire was rising, and they were about to turn tariffs into something even more dangerous. Something almost surgical. Let's move to the Roman Empire, where trade wasn't just taxed, It was controlled like a weapon. The Roman Empire, controlling the world through tariffs. Now imagine this. You're a trader arriving at the gates of ancient Rome. You've got spices from the east, fine silks, maybe some exotic animals. You're excited. After all, this is Rome, the wealthiest city in the world. But before you can even roll your cart past the first checkpoint, a tax collector stops you. Not once, not twice, but at every stage of your journey. There's a fee to enter the province, a fee to use the roads, a fee to sell in the market. By the time you reach your destination, your profits are gone. You might even end up in debt. But here's the thing, it's not bad luck. It's not mismanagement. It's on purpose. You see, the Romans weren't just masters of war, they were masters of control. And tariffs were one of their sharpest tools. Every territory they conquered, from Gaul to Egypt, was put under strict tax systems. But it wasn't only about collecting money, it was about keeping power. Rome used tariffs to achieve two objectives simultaneously. First, they protected their businesses. Local Roman merchants got better deals, lower taxes, and easy access. Outsiders, not so lucky. Second, they bled the provinces dry. Conquered regions were taxed so heavily that they stayed poor and weak. That way, they couldn't rise against the empire. It was ruthless and undeniably brilliant. And the best part for Rome, it was quiet. No rebellions, no wars, just steady money flowing in while their enemies stayed broke and dependent. That's how Rome kept its empire standing for so long. Not just with legions and swords, but with taxes, fees, and tariffs that acted like invisible chains. What held the empire together wasn't its walls, but a web of taxes, until those invisible threads choked it from within. The economy was too rigid, and when things finally snapped, they snapped hard. So next time someone tells you trade is boring, remind them, the greatest empire in history used tariffs not just to get rich, but to stay on top, until it couldn't anymore. But the Roman trick didn't end with them. After Rome fell, Europe fell into chaos. And in that chaos, new powers rose. Not with armies, but with stone walls and even nastier tariffs. Let's head into the Middle Ages, where towns didn't need swords to protect themselves, just a price tag. Medieval Europe tariffs as a castle wall story. The Roman Empire was gone. Europe was a mess. No one was really in charge, and everyone was trying to protect what little they had. It was a time of castles, knights, and endless little wars. But while swords clashed on muddy battlefields, a new kind of protection was rising. Not made of stone or steel, but of tariffs. Imagine a small town nestled among lush farmland and dense forests. There's a big stone gate at the entrance, a wooden market in the center, and trade routes stretching in all directions. Now, imagine every time a merchant enters the town, he has to pay. Just to cross the bridge, pay a toll. Want to sell your wool in the market? Another fee. Want to take goods to the next town over? Yep, pay again. This wasn't by accident. In the Middle Ages, tariffs were like invisible castle walls. They didn't keep people out physically. They just made it too expensive to get in. Towns and cities throughout Europe employed trade taxes to safeguard their markets and prevent outsiders from profiting at the expense of their citizens. But it wasn't just about money, it was about power. If one town raised tariffs on a rival, the rival might increase its tariffs in return. Then others would join in. Before you knew it, an entire region could turn into a tangled mess of trade restrictions. It wasn't just, you tax me, I tax you. It was you who hurt my economy. I'll choke yours. Some towns became so good at this that they didn't even need soldiers. Their tariffs were sufficient to keep out competition and maintain the gold flow. But it also made life more complicated for the average person. Food got more expensive. Goods took longer to arrive, and sometimes cities went to war, not because someone attacked them, but because someone taxed their salt or blocked their wine shipments. And here's the part that hurts. Kings feasted in stone halls while the market stalls grew quieter and the bread got thinner. And most of the time, they didn't even know why. That's what made tariffs so dangerous in the Middle Ages. You couldn't see them, you couldn't fight them, but they could ruin you just the same. This sneaky style of warfare continued to evolve. And when European nations began to expand into empires, sending ships across oceans and establishing colonies, tariffs became something even more significant, something global. Let's move to the 18th and 19th centuries, the golden age of mercantilism, when tariffs weren't just tools anymore, they were weapons of empire. The age of exploration, tariffs across the seas. Imagine sailing the vast oceans of the 15th century. The promise of untold riches, gold, spices, and precious metals lies ahead. But there's a catch. European nations such as Spain, Portugal, France, and England weren't just after wealth. They sought complete control over global trade. They used tariffs as their weapon to dominate the seas. Take Spain, for example. They sent explorers like Columbus and Cortez to secure exclusive trade routes. Any goods from the New World, like silver or tobacco, had to pass through Spanish ports, where hefty tariffs were imposed. If a French or English merchant wanted to trade with Spain's colonies, they faced steep fees, all to ensure Spain's merchants profited the most. Portugal followed a similar approach with the spice trade in the Indian Ocean. They built forts and imposed high tariffs on other nations seeking to enter the spice market. The Dutch and English were desperate, but the Portuguese maintained high prices. No tariff, no spice. European nations monopolized trade by imposing tariffs on all goods that crossed their borders. For sailors and merchants, it meant lower profits and higher prices. For every sailor who risked the storm, there was a monarch counting coins behind palace walls. As for the colonies, they were stuck in a one-way trade system. They were forced to sell goods at fixed prices to their colonizers, who imposed tariffs to keep them poor and dependent. By the 18th century, this system of tariff-controlled global trade was fully established. Empires were built on taxes, not just riches. However, this led to growing resentment, particularly in the American colonies, which did not appreciate the tariffs they had to pay to Britain. These tariffs didn't just enrich empires, they created enemies. Enemies that would soon push back. Next, we'll dive into one of the most iconic protests in history, the one where tariffs sparked a revolution in the American colonies. You guessed it, the Boston Tea Party. The American Revolution. Tariffs that sparked a war. Picture this, it's the 1770s, and the American colonies are growing and thriving. However, King George III views them as a means to profit. How? With tariffs. Britain didn't just want to trade, they wanted control, using taxes and tariffs to squeeze the colonies. One of the most famous was the Stamp Act of 1765, which taxed newspapers, legal documents, and any other items made of paper. Imagine being a lawyer or writer, suddenly having to pay extra for paper. People were furious, but it didn't stop there. In 1773, Britain passed the Tea Act, giving the British East India Company exclusive rights to sell tea in the colonies. American merchants were forced to sell tea at higher prices, while British tea flooded the market, untaxed. This was about more than tea. It was about power. Britain wanted control, and the colonists had had enough. On December 16th, 1773, the Boston Tea Party happened. Colonists disguised as Native Americans boarded British ships and dumped 342 chests of tea into the harbor, a direct protest against unfair tariffs. In response, Britain passed the Coercive Acts, also known as the Intolerable Acts, intended to punish the colonies. But this only made matters worse. The colonists felt betrayed, and the cry for independence grew louder. The tariffs weren't just taxes, they were weapons of control, pushing the colonies toward revolution. Tariffs had gone from an economic tool to a symbol of oppression. The American Revolution demonstrated to the world that unfair tariffs could do more than harm economies. They could spark wars and lead to the creation of new nations. The 1800s, tariff wars. That shaped countries. It's the early 1800s. The United States, a young nation, is trying to build its economy. To protect its emerging industries, it imposed high tariffs on goods from Britain with the Tariff of 1816. This move is meant to shield American factories, especially in the North, from foreign competition. But not everyone is happy. The southern states, which are heavily reliant on agriculture, view these tariffs as harmful because they increase the cost of goods and harm their exports. Tensions rose, culminating in the nullification crisis of the 1830s, when South Carolina refused to comply with the tariff laws. President Andrew Jackson threatens military action, and while Congress lowers the tariffs, the divide between North and South deepens. Meanwhile, in Britain, the corn laws protect landowners but raise food prices, causing protests. Eventually, the corn laws were repealed in 1846 after significant unrest. Across Europe, nations such as Germany and France use tariffs to build their industries. But these tariff walls also isolate them from global trade, thereby stunting international growth. By the end of the century, it's clear that tariffs, while offering protection, can also create economic divides and slow progress. The world was learning that tariffs could hurt as much as help. In the next section, we'll dive into the Smoot-Hawley tariff, a policy that made the Great Depression even worse. The Smoot-Hawley tariff, the tariff that made the Great Depression worse. In 1929, the stock market crashed and the US economy spiraled into the Great Depression. To protect American industries, Congress passed the Smoot-Hawley tariff, raising tariffs on thousands of imported goods to historic levels. The hope was to shield domestic jobs, but instead, it sparked a global trade war. Other nations retaliate by imposing their tariffs on US goods, leading to a sharp decline in international trade. As a result, global economies continue to weaken. Countries like Germany and Canada reduced their imports from the United States, resulting in the loss of millions of jobs, which further exacerbated the depression. Instead of protecting American workers, the Smoot-Hawley tariff became a key example of how tariffs can backfire on the economy. Far from providing relief, it deepened the global economic crisis and highlighted the extent to which the world economy had become interconnected. It was a harsh lesson in the consequences of using tariffs as a tool of economic warfare. Next, we'll look at how tariffs played a role in modern trade wars, especially with Trump's policies. Modern times, Trump's trade wars. In 2018, President Trump began escalating trade wars, particularly with China, as well as with Canada and Mexico. His administration imposed hefty tariffs on goods like steel, washing machines, and even toilet paper, all in the name of protecting American workers and businesses. The goal was to reduce the US trade deficit, specifically with China, and to compel other nations to adhere to America's rules. Trump's use of tariffs echoed that of past leaders who had employed them as economic weapons. He saw tariffs as a way to force countries to the negotiating table, but the effects were far-reaching. Countries like China retaliated with their tariffs on American products, striking US farmers and manufacturers. American soybean exports to China, one of the most significant agricultural trade flows, plunged by over 70% in just 1 year. Entire supply chains froze. Some farmers were left with silos full of unsold crops and no buyers in sight. At the same time, prices for everyday consumers rose, from food to electronics. Tariffs didn't just spark headlines, they hit homes, wallets, and dinner tables. However, the history of tariffs reveals that they do not always work as intended. While Trump argued that they were necessary to protect American interests, the global economy became more strained and trade relationships suffered damage. In the end, tariffs didn't just hurt foreign countries, they also hurt the American people. Trump may have used tariffs like a blunt instrument, but in reality, he was just the latest to wield an old weapon. One that history shows is as likely to backfire as it is to succeed. Now, let's wrap things up and see how history keeps repeating itself. History repeats itself. From ancient Greece to modern America, tariffs have been like silent weapons, used to control trade, economies, and even nations. Whether it's Athens squeezing Sparta, Britain holding tight to its colonies, or Trump's latest trade wars, the tactic has been the same. Use tariffs to gain an advantage, even if it ultimately hurts everyone. History shows us that tariffs may seem like a quick fix, but they rarely work out as planned. They weaken economies, spark resentment, and can lead to bigger conflicts. Every time a new trade war starts, it's not a fresh idea, it's just a repeat of the past. Tariffs may be ancient, but they never lose their power to stir up trouble. Next time you hear about tariffs, just remember, it's not new, it's old, and it never really ends well for anyone. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Tariffs aren't new. They've been used as silent weapons throughout history, causing harm far beyond what most realize. Whether it's ancient Greece, medieval Europe, or Trump's trade wars, the effects are often the same. They hurt economies and spark bigger conflicts. If you found this history of tariffs surprising, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with your friends. And we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on tariffs? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned for more.